We are coming to you from the city beautiful Chicago, Illinois, where this afternoon WGN Sports presents White Sox baseball as Paul Konerko, Gordon Beckham, Jose Quintana on the Sox as they get set to butt heads with Billy Butler and the Kansas City Royals. Hi, everybody, and welcome. With Steve Stone, I'm Ken Harrelson as we get set to bring you the finale of this four-game set and the finale of this season. Royals took the first two games in last night. We won it 6-5. Addison Reed picking up his 40th save. But this afternoon, we have a young man out on that bump who's just had a tremendous year for us.
I think Quintana has cemented himself as number 2 starter on this team. He's 9-6, and last time out against Toronto, he was very good. He won his 9th game by throwing a lot of high fastballs, being able to get the breaking ball over the plate and stay ahead of the hitters. That's the formula for success. His ERA this year, 3.45, although he's never beaten Kansas City. No better time than today, and those are the numbers from last time out. Where he only walked 1, he fanned 6, and he looked like he's looked all year. And despite 17 no decisions, he's been terrific.
Well, this could possibly be the last game for Paul Konerko this afternoon, knowing we don't know what the status is.
What a brilliant career Paul had, and especially with the White Sox, as long as he's been here, and he's in the top 5 in just about every offensive category. So Paul this year, for him, a disappointing year, for the team, a disappointing year, but there's a lot of people here don't know if they will see Paulie again as a player. Only Paul knows, because he said he's going to evaluate. And there you look at his career numbers, they're pretty impressive. 281, 434 home runs to go with all the RBIs, all the hits. And what he's meant to this team as the captain. Paul Konerko, one of the most popular players in the history of the White Sox, and now the fate's in his hands.
All right, sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
you're gone, gone, gone. You're my backbone, you're my cornerstone, you're my crutch when my legs stop moving. You're my head start, you're my rugged heart, you're the pulse that I've always needed. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, my heart never stops beating for you. For you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you. For you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long after you go. For you. For you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long after you go. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, my heart never stops beating for you. And long after you're gone, 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 I'll love you long after you're gone, gone, gone.
Great job on the season-ending video by the men and women who keep our fans entertained all season long. Chicago White Sox baseball in high definition is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Today's game's available in Spanish on your SAP audio setting provided by 97.5 FM ESPN Deportes, Chicago's first and only FM Spanish language sports radio station. Welcome back to U.S. Cellular Field. It's a beautiful day for baseball, and let's take a look at how Ned Yost is going to line up his Kansas City Royals. It's David Lowe leading it off, Johnny Giavotella in the 2 spot, Salvador Perez at first, Billy Butler the DH with Lorenzo Cain, Justin Maxwell, Brett Hayes, Pedro Siriaco, and Irving Fallu rounding it out. The White Sox defense is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Diaz, Danks, and Garcia in the outfield with Simeon, Ramirez, Beckham, and Konerko in the infield. Josh Fegley gets a nod behind the plate. And Jose Quintana goes to the hill today in search of win number 10. It's been a great year for him despite only 9 wins. His ERA 3.45 on for his 33rd start. He's got 193 innings, and he pencils out to be the number 2 starter next year. The umpires for the game this afternoon: Chris Conroy behind the plate, Gary Darling at first, Jerry Meals at second, and Paul Emmel is at third. And so they've thrown the ball around the infield, and for the final time this season, I will turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
All right, Stoney, thank you. And once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the final game of this series and the final game of the 2013 season. So happy you could be with us right here over WGN Sports. And our Jose Quintana's first pitch of the ball game to David Lowe. It's taken for a strike. Kansas City comes in hitting at .260 as a club with a 3.46 ERA. They are 85 and 76. That's into left field so quickly, 1 out. And this is obviously the final meeting of the year. In the first 18 games we have played them, we have won 9. So here's Giavotella. Johnny making his first appearance in this series. Hitting at 184, no homers. He's driven in 4. $17 no decisions, Tony.
It's pretty amazing because he's thrown the ball so unbelievably well, and a combination of just some bad pensmanship when he's gone out there and lack of offense allowed him to lead the league in something you don't want to lead the league in. I would say the overwhelming majority of those no decisions he threw well enough to win.
No question.
Sometimes you get a break, you get bailed out. It wasn't the case with Quintana this year.
Yeah, he got bailed out a couple times this year, but I'll tell you, the majority, as you mentioned, put it well, the overwhelming majority, He pitched well enough to win. That's in the dirt.
I think Don Cooper did such a good job with Quintana because he convinced him coming off last year that you can't just primarily stay in one part of the plate. He was, surprisingly, he was glove side strong, meaning inside to right-handers, away to left-handers. He stayed in there. He got hurt a lot. This year he's using both sides of the plate and throwing a lot of curveballs.
Nice pick. Get over there.
Looked like a terrific play by Paul. The problem was that Quintana was a spectator for a bit. This ball's hit hard, and you have to really bust it to first base. Konerko makes a terrific play, but Giovitella ties the play and the call by Gary Darling. This is a big effort by Paul.
Yes, it was. So another, in essence, 4-out inning.
Tough to continue to pitch over those, as we've seen this year more than ever before.
That has popped up right side, and I don't think it's going to be playable. Foul ball. So the count 0-1 to Salvador Perez. Salvador hitting at 289, 12 homers, and 77 driven in. Yeah, this certainly will be a season to forget.
He will be one of those, but obviously things went very poorly. But because it was as bad as it was, you'll try to forget it, but in the recesses of your mind, you're going to remember this year for the unusual things that happened. The length of some of the games, that doubleheader that never seemed to end against Cleveland.
Longest in Major League history. That'll be about, what, 16 minutes?
Yeah, that was...
so it was not just breaking a record, a Major League record by a minute or two.
It was just under 8 hours for 2 games that were played and no extra innings. 2 9-inning games, 19-10 and 9-8, with a stirring comeback by the Tribe in that second game, coming from 3 down in the 9th. But things like that we'll remember. And unfortunately, the things we'll remember are things that will go down as historic on the bad side.
And there's the base hit. So Giovitella will pull up at second. And that'll bring up Billy Butler.
How would you like to have a young catcher with the skills of Salvador Perez?
They don't come along very often.
Well, he's a good one, isn't he?
One of the better young ones we have seen come into this league in a long time. Maybe since Pudge Rodriguez.
There's not much he can't do, and we've seen in this series, almost without exception, he doesn't let the ball get by him in the dirt.
He throws extremely well, but Pudge could run as well, too. Yeah. Pudge could steal a base for you.
Now, that's where Salvador doesn't have that fifth tool.
Butler, 2 for 4 last night with a monster home run. 2-run shot. It made it a 4-3 ball game.
If Jose can keep it in on his hands and get the ground ball, Butler with 27 double plays grounded into this year.
Jose's had pretty good success against Billy. 3 for 15 Butler is against him.
I dare say there's not a whole lot of pitchers that have much better numbers against Butler, because he's pretty tough to deal with.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite hitters to watch in this league. Especially against good pitching. That's what's always impressed me about Billy Butler. Seen him since he first came up as a youngster. He has always hit good pitching well. And that is a special gift. A lot of guys can eat up that secondary and tertiary pitching, but not that frontline stuff.
Well, you talked about it, and it is true. If the Royals are serious about contending next year, they better get somebody to protect Butler.
They've got to. If they don't, they're spinning their wheels.
And they'll do the same thing they did this year, take it so far and then
that's it.
Back off.
Yeah. Good teams are just not going to, contention teams are just not going to let him beat them on this ball club. Hosmer can get to that point. Hosmer's got a chance to be a monster.
The thing with Hosmer was, in order to turn him around, he was in the 2 spot in the batting order most of the year. They put him in the 3 spot now, but sitting him today, they want him to hit 300 for the year.
Well, one reason he's going to hit 300 for the year is because of Billy Butler.
Yeah, pretty good protection behind you when that's the man that a pitcher's looking at.
They need to stack it up one more deep. Detroit got Cabrera, Fielder, and Martinez. There he goes. And that pitch is fouled down.
For
Down
Detroit,
exit 2-2.
For Detroit, a lot of people thought that that contract for Fielder was ridiculous. But what Dave Dombrowski knew was, being a left-hand hitter and a guy capable of hitting 35, 40 home runs every year, especially in that park, that he would give Cabrera something he never had, which was a slugger behind him. Make you think twice about pitching around him, even though Cabrera is by far the best.
Fouls that one away. Well, that contract was not ridiculous. If anything, it was brilliant. This would be like going out and buying yourself a Rolls Royce and don't get any insurance.
And that wouldn't be a real good idea.
No.
And it sure helped them that Victor Martinez came back. He missed all of last year, the year before. He was a 400 hitter with runners in scoring position. And so coming back to that team, he started out very slowly. But as the year went on and he got used to pitching again, he became the same devastating guy he always was and the same great clutch hitter he always was.
And another foul ball.
It's a good battle between Butler and Quintana. Quintana trying to throw that ground ball to the left side. And Butler fouling off some pretty good pitches. As you can see, he's been up, down, in, out, trying to do everything to combat a very good hitter. Because you can't get in one pattern because Butler will make you pay.
Full count.
I would say a couple of looks back at second might be in order with Giovatello there. If they do decide to run, thinking Butler's going to make contact, then you go after the trailer, Perez, at second base. Even though he's got a big lead at first.
One out and the payoff pitch. No, not go. Butler, or Perez did, but meanwhile, rack him up. So Quintana wins that battle, and after half inning of play, it's Kansas City 0, and our guys coming to bat.
And it's Alejandro Diaza, Alexi Ramirez, Paul Konerko. Then Garcia, Danks, Viciedo, Beckham, Simeon, and Fegley rounded out. The defense and how they'll line up behind Bruce Chen. Lowe, Kane, and Maxwell in the outfield. Fallu, Siriaco, Giovitella, and Perez in the infield. Brett Hayes gets the nod behind the plate. Have Bruce Chen on the hill. He's 8-4 this year. Finding area of 338 on for his 15th start. They banished him to the bullpen earlier. Then they had some problems. Then he fought his way back to the rotation where he keeps on fooling people.
And before we show you our picks to click you at home, select yours. 36-year-old southpaw, 6'2", 215 pounds, side chin out of Panama City. Flips that one out there. Get down. It will. David Lowe cannot get there, so the leadoff single. Sox come in hitting at 249 as a club with a 3.98 team ERA.
Promising way to start it. This cut fastball on the outside part of the plate. Drops before David Lowe can make the play.
There's Alexei. 4 for 35 lifetime off Chen. One and one to count. Yeah, you're talking about the negative things that will pop up in your mind, which you're right there, because in a season like this, there have been many more negatives than positives. So it'll be the 5 runs in the 14th inning for me in Seattle.
Yeah, that unbelievable. Seager came up. It was a 4-run game at that point with the bases loaded. 2 outs. Hits a grand slam to tie it.
Yeah, we scored 5 runs in the top of the 14th. Wound up losing the ball game.
Well, that one at Detroit, the 6-run 9th inning, and as quickly as that happened, that's one I'll remember for a long time.
Yeah, that's the only time that's been done. Score 5 runs in extra innings like that and have them tied up. But we did come back. We did not lose. We did come back and win that ball game. But that was something. Outfield, for the most part, straight up, fairly short. It's out of play.
Well, we'll keep you up to date on the wild card race because it's a dandy in the American League. Cleveland leading 2-0 against Minnesota. That's in the first inning. They're facing a left-hander, Scott Diamond. And Cleveland seemingly a much better team because their switch hitters, at least the 2 big ones, are much better right-hand hitters.
Popped up right side. Giovitella now drops the ball as Maxwell came in on him. May have heard those footsteps.
Well, it's an easier play for Maxwell as the wind just pulled that one back into the field of play.
fans realizing this might be the last time they see number 14. Which that number will be retired. And later on there will be a statue of him out in center field. Fouls it back. But as we said in the pregame show, Stoney, I'll always remember him for playing hurt. For me, that's always been so important. Big hurt Frank Thomas, same way. Frank played hurt, never said a word about it. As that changeup fouled, but get out of here. It won't. And that's out number 1. That'll bring up Garcia. That's one thing I'll always remember Andy Pettitte. The most telling thing is not that he is the winningest pitcher in postseason in history. It's, to me, he took the ball when he was hurt, when they had nobody else to pitch.
Probably the last 5 years of his career, because I know how sore your arm gets as you get a little bit older. Probably for Andy, last 5 years of his career, pain was a constant companion. I'm not sure that he pitched too many healthy ball games, but he sure capped it off last night with a Jim Dandy against the Houston Astros. Beat him 2-1. A fitting farewell for Andy Pettitte.
Big rip. Avicii yield. Garcia hitting at 283, 7 homers, 31 knocked in. Outfield straight up, about equidistant. You know, and all of a sudden you turn to the other side of that page. There are a lot of guys who all they have to do is get a little hangnail and they won't go out there.
Especially of recent vintage. And you can trace it back, and it's very simple to do that. Trace it back to the emergence of long-term guaranteed contracts, and you can take a look at time on the disabled list. It immediately went up almost 400%. Because both you and I played on a lot of one-year contracts. And if you played on a one-year contract, you couldn't sit it out. I mean, if you felt bad, well, you just played for a couple of different reasons. And, you know, there was a great deal of my career where I wasn't particularly good. I was afraid if I gave up my spot, I'd never get it back again. And also, what you did this year was corresponding directly to what you made next year.
Well, there's another element that goes with that back in that time zone you're talking about, because what you did was almost irrelevant to how the team did. That's how they paid. You could have a good year. As there's a line drive, and they're going to double him up. So that'll take care of that. And after 1, no score. Both innings ended with a double play. But right here, Lorenzo Cain, Justin Maxwell, Brett Hayes. Yeah, but getting back to that time zone, you could have a good year, and yet you would not get paid as much, anywhere near as much as you should have been if your team didn't play well, because that's what they use. They said, well, you did all right, but look, what'd you do for the team?
The phrase that I heard many times was, you know, we could have finished there without you.
Oh, yeah.
I know, you could have. But here I was and had a decent year. It didn't matter.
One year when I was a kid, I think I was, 24 years old. I led Kansas City in home runs and RBIs, and I got a contract in the mail for a $500 raise.
Yeah, but that was whether you needed it or not.
And then I tore it up. I just tore the contract up, put it back in the manila envelope, and sent it back to Charlie Finley. And about 10 days later, of course, they didn't have FedEx back in those days, or out of FedEx. About 10 days later, I get another contract with the same thing, $500 raise, with a little note on there from Charlie saying, sign it or quit.
There you go.
Yeah. 2-2 pitch. He gone.
Good hard breaking ball low and in, and Lorenzo Cain swings over the top. So the first strikeout of the afternoon for Quintana.
And here's Maxwell. Justin hitting at .255, 7 homers. And look at this. We're going to have Connor Gillespie go out and take over for Paul Konerko, who will exit and get a standing ovation once again from this very appreciative crowd.
Certainly want a curtain call. You know, there's a whole lot of players, Hawk, that would have made that walk a lot more slowly than Paul made it, but it's just not his style.
No, he wanted to get in that dugout as quickly as possible. There's a strike. Well, when it'll hit me the most is when I'm driving home after the game today. I have that hour and a half to reflect on a lot of things. The season, Paulie.
Well, he said he would take upwards of a month to make his decision after he reflects on just exactly what happened this year. I think a whole lot of the decision is going to ride on, does he think he can stay healthy?
Well, his body is probably going to make that decision for him. That ball carrying out there to right center field. That's 2 out. So that'll bring up the catcher, Brett Hayes. Hayes 4 for 14 since being called up with 3 doubles. Outfield shading him to the right. That ball hit hard, but look at that thing carries, Tony. Wow.
It's going to be a lively day today, but that one not near far enough.
All right, a 1 inning. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for over 34 years. So to join the nation, visit jeffvuk.com because Nationwide is on your side. Jordan Danks. The Tank. Gordon Beckham here in the bottom of the second inning. Jordan hitting at .236, 5 homers, 12 knocked in. Jordan homered yesterday. Simeon and Danks went back to back. As we talked about, Steve, Jordan next year is going into spring training. He's going to be viewed with an entirely different perspective.
And I think he's convinced himself that he can do it now. We know he can play any outfield position. He also has shown that he can hit the ball out of the park in the major leagues, something that he didn't seem to have the ability to do before.
Yes, that's out number 1. So right now, for the final time this year, let's check out our picks to click. Tim Angio, our director and the crew, they went with Begley. Steve's going with Jordan Danks. And all our White Sox fans who have suffered through this season with us and we're going to go with the man at the plate right now. Big Hack. This has not been White Sox baseball. Oh, and 2 the count.
There's some young fans. He brought his glove. Just in case. You always have to be prepared.
And that's popped up right side. Giavotella almost had a redo.
Yeah, that's still Maxwell. It'll always be Maxwell's ball. It was Maxwell's ball the first time. It was his that time. It's a tougher, much tougher play for Giavotella.
Especially when he drifts like he did on both of them.
Yeah, the wind is blowing that way toward right center field.
One of the best I've ever seen. I got to put a couple in there. Two of the best I've ever seen at second base pop-ups. First of all, maybe the greatest second baseman that ever lived was Roberto Alomar.
Yeah.
And then our Ray Durham, when he was here. Ray had tremendous range. There's a solid base hit. Get by him. He's going to give it a go. Here's the throw. Gone. Beautiful play by Maxwell, and that'll retire the side. We're into the third, no score. Pedro Siriaco pops it up. Connor Gillespie makes the catch. 1 out.
We're seeing a lot of first pitch swinging, being an inconsequential last game of the season.
Irving Fallu takes first pitch strike. Fallu making his first plate appearance of the season. And that's trouble. It's fair. It is. No, it's foul. Looking at the wrong line. Looking at that rope, that support wire.
Fallu didn't make it up this year, but last year he hit .341 for these Royals. So this ball just barely on the right side of the line. So says Gary Darling.
One and two the count. Softly hit. Marcus Semien. And you can be treated like a White Sox player, so join the former White Sox greats at Chicago White Sox Fantasy Camp, January 13th through the 20th, 2014, at the White Sox Spring Training Facility in Glendale, Arizona. So for additional information, call 312-674-5398.
Every year I'm one of the masters of ceremony at the banquet for the fantasy camp, and The guys just have an unbelievably nice time there. They get a feeling, at least for a week, of what it's like to be a major leaguer, how to go about whatever business you have to go about, do whatever it is you need to do, and talk to the players who have been there and done it before many times.
David Lowe can't get it. Well, I've already talked to Bill Melton, and he's going to fix everything up for Jimmy Olsen, or alias Jim Canatero. He's going to wear his behind out this fantasy camp.
I don't believe that's going to be a difficult task.
I don't either. I think he's got a lot of wuss in it. That's in the center field. 1, 2, 3 innings, 7 in a row, retired by Quintana. No runs, 2 hits, no errors for their guys. No runs, 3 hits, no errors for our guys. Marcus hitting at 277, a couple of homers, 7 knocked in. And he has been ever so impressive since being called up. This year's Southern League MVP. And that is quite an honor with all the great prospects they have in the Southern League.
Being a lifetime shortstop, he can play all the positions in the infield.
Another thing that got me about that MVP award, he got that only playing 90 games down there. That's how impressive he was.
I was going to say that's a pretty amazing number, considering that he was probably battling a whole lot of guys who were there all year and had a chance to pile up those numbers.
2-2 the count. High pop up right side. Watch out.
Well, you've got a catcher playing first base. And it goes E3. Now this might have been one that Giovatello would have a better shot at. It's popped up. Press calling for it, but the ball just keeps on drifting. No place for Marcus to go because that play is in front of him.
Wow.
This has been pretty well played so far.
Well, you know what I'm just thinking. Here on the first fly ball to center field, you and I both said that ball's carrying Windy out there.
Normally that would pop up to the catcher.
Yeah.
And it waited all the way out to first base.
And here, you know, been almost 3 of them misjudged already.
Not a cloud in the sky. That might have something to do with it.
What did Harry say that time that y'all were doing the game and Salazar was playing third base?
No, Ray Sanchez.
Was that Sanchez at third? I thought it was Salazar.
Sanchez at second.
No, the one I'm talking about was in foul territory, right?
Oh, well, he did that a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I remember the Ray Sanchez one. How could a guy from Puerto Rico, who plays in the sun every day, miss a pop-up in the sun?
I almost fell off the couch. I was watching that game when he said that. And that's foul back, and that'll be a souvenir. And the pop-up.
See, our guys have found a soft spot in their defense, so they continue to pop them up, put the pressure on their defense.
So Feggs is out, 1 down, and that'll bring up the Ozzy. Alejandro singled in the left field leading off the first. And that ball deep in the left field. David Lowe back on the track now. Makes the catch for out number 2.
Turned out to be a pretty good play, because that ball was hit a little bit harder.
There's 2 outs. There's just 2 outs.
There's only 2 outs, I believe. Didn't Simeon lead it off?
Simeon led it off. Reached on an error. The pop up to Fegley. Fly ball to.
I understand they want to move the game along.
Well, Simeon must have been picked off then on double play. Meanwhile, we'll go to the 4th.
you got to retouch second and go back to first. So there was no retouch, hence inning over. Find out what's possible with products and services from AT&T. Rethink possible.
So here's Giovatella. We're seeing all kinds of different double plays.
Yeah, this is a.
As we were watching Lowe make a good catch.
This is a clinic on what not to do.
Oh boy. All year long. All day long. Giovatella had an infield single. Hit a ground ball right side. Paulie made a real good play on. And Quintana just watching for a while. Watched it for too long. Couldn't get over there in time. He beat it out. Outfield straight up. Bunch just a bit. And chops that one foul. Count at 2-2. Kansas City coming in at 9 games over at 85 and 76. As I said, that's it. They got a better team than that. That bullpen they have, the best in the American League and the second best in all of baseball. So that is the dreaded leadoff walk. And our White Sox and Camarena Tequila both know that giving anything less than 100% is just not good enough. That's why Camarena only offers award-winning 100% Blue Agave Tequila. Camarena Tequila, the official tequila of our White Sox. It is 2-0 Kansas City.
Perez has been up twice. Twice he's hit the ball awfully hard. That's a Royals' third hit. And the 13th home run of the year for Perez. He now has driven in 79 runs. He gets a hold of a high cutter and takes it way back.
That is the 22nd home run that Quintana has thrown. Billy Butler into a 4-3 double play. Takes strike one. Got him, one out.
So Henderson Alvarez has a no-hitter through 9 against the Tigers, but the Marlins haven't scored. So congratulations.
Shades of Harvey Haddix.
Congratulations on perhaps getting a no decision. Unless those spunky Marlins can come and push one across.
There's a strike.
Marlins fired their president, Larry Beinfest. I believe he will not stay unemployed for long. There's a very talented guy who's a great judge of talent.
Beckham's got him. 2 down. I certainly concur.
Years and years and years, they brought some terrific young players up through their system to the major leagues, letting them get to a certain point and, of course, moving them.
That's one of the vulgar signs of baseball. But it is what it is. Maxwell went out to his counterpart, Avisaíl Garcia. And that's foul. Outfield straight up, about equidistant. Got in on him. And that's a can of corn out there. But the long 2-run homer after the leadoff walk. And it is 2-0 Royals.
TV.com and click on the Game Zone banner for updated stats and information. The Game Zone is powered by St. Xavier University. Success with purpose. Log on to sxu.edu to check out undergrad and graduate degree options.
Alexei Ramirez will lead it off for us here in the bottom of the 4th inning, and the 2-0 Kansas City lead is maybe as a 2-1 Kansas City lead. You can put it on the board. Yes. Jumped all over it.
6th home run of the year, 48th driven in. And now Alexei has 2 hits. First ball, fastball. And the Chen fastball these days at 85, you better hit a good spot with it.
First pitch strike to Gillespie. If you're just checking in, Paul Konerko started. And they gave him the hero's welcome and exit. Connor went in to play first base. So Paulie could get another standing ovation. A beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky, 62 degrees. As he drops down with the fastball, 1 out.
He did the same thing to Jordan Danks leading off the second, where he got him to 2 strikes and then showed him that sidearm look, which he usually reserves just for the 2 strikes.
Garcia lined into a 6-4 double play, and now he grounds out to Siriaco. So here's Jordan. Of course, with that home run by Alexei, the Alex Snellius family will make a generous donation to White Sox charities in loving memory of Ursula. It's great to see Alex before the game. Has popped up left side. Siriaco. And that'll retire the side, but the home run by Alexei Ramirez, and it's a 2-1 ball game. U.S. Cellular Field at the Gate 5 Plaza. Bacardi at the park. Give him a visit. That'll be next year. But when you do come over there, ask for Vasilios Process, and he'll take care of you. First pitch strike. Brett Hayes, who lined out to center field.
He hit the ball very hard last time up.
Well, going into next year, I think Kansas City is in position right now to where if they can, first of all, find somebody to protect Billy Butler, which is going to be a tough job because there's not many guys out there. And if there is, it's going to cost a lot of money, whoever it may be.
Yep.
But that's imperative. But they're in position, if they make a couple of moves, I think they're in a better position than Cleveland to make a run at the Tigers. That bullpen, they're best in the American League, as I mentioned, 2.57. Atlanta has the best in baseball at 2.46 ERA. Bullpen. 1 out.
I do believe that they'll have big question mark with Irvin Santana because he makes a lot of money and he's put together a pretty decent year for them. I think the salary was in the neighborhood of 13, something along those lines. I think.
Siriaco fouled out to first. Takes the bunt, takes a strike. Well, at least they're in position, though. Now it's just going to depend on what they do.
Irvin Santana, $13 million. And I think it's the last year of his contract. Santana this year picked up 211 innings. Went 9-10, but an ERA pretty impressive, 3.24.
Well, the 211 innings is the best number on his sheet.
Yep.
And the reason being is because it's a battle of the bullpens in today's game. The best way you can protect your bullpen is with your starters.
Well, especially in the American League. I mean, look, it's difficult to throw 200 innings regardless of what league you're in. But in the National League, many times if you're behind, you're going to be taken down for a pinch hitter. You don't see that in the American League, so a little easier to go up and over 200.
Boy, this is not going to take long right here. That's a quick 1-2-3 inning. We're halfway home. It's a 2-1 Kansas City lead.
Numbers of Paul Konerko. Second in games played, second in home runs, second in runs batted in, third in hits. In just an unbelievable White Sox career. That's brought to you by Xfinity Home. Get peace of mind with Xfinity Home. The total home security and home control solution that keeps you more connected to what matters most.
And many of those 2,187 games playing hurt. And still putting up the numbers.
Well, the Marlins were able to push across a run in the bottom of the ninth, and the no-hitter holds up.
Peralta played left field and shortstop in that game.
Yep. Fielder had one at bat. Cabrera did not play.
The 0-2 pitch. Tank popped up to Giovatella. So Sy gets another one. Third strikeout for him. And Sox fans make plans for Sox Fest 2014 at the Palmer House Hilton, presented by Miller Lite, by Pepsi, by Comcast Sportsnet, by Xfinity, and by WGN-TV. So join current players and White Sox greats January 24th, 25th, and 26th for an exciting weekend of White Sox baseball. Beckham hits this deep into center field. Stretch! Nope, right on the track. Gordon has singled and now gone out deep to center. Well, no Sully is watching today. Just because the season's over, Sully, does not mean that I can't get my cheese straws. Sully is Gordon Beckham's mom.
I thought they're only fresh between April and October.
I know one thing. Next time she sends me 2 10s and Gordon only gives me 1, we're going to have a problem. High and deep. But they got a man there, and that'll retire the side. We've completed 5, and we trail it 2-1. Checking some other scores for you. Cleveland leading Minnesota 2-0. The game in the top of the 5th at Target Field. Tampa Bay leading Toronto 7-3, top of the 7th at the Rogers Center up in Canada. Pittsburgh leading Cincinnati 3-0 after 7 in Cincinnati. Boston shutting out Baltimore 5-0, bottom of the 5th at Oriole Park. St. Louis leading the Cubs 1-0, bottom of the 4th, then St. Louis. But right here, top of the order for the Royals, Loeb, Giovatella, and Perez. Angels scored 1 in the top of the 1st down at Arlington against the Rangers. And there is a little soft pop-up caught by Gordon. And the White Sox and Athletico Physical Therapy both understand the importance of injury prevention in players and fans in their daily activities. So visit athletico.com/blog for injury prevention tips. Athletico Physical Therapy, the official physical therapy provider of our White Sox. Athletico, better for everybody. That is chopped foul by Giovatella, who has an infield single, a walk, and a run scored. There's a strike. 0-2. Looks like the heat's on the Rangers.
Well, you would have to think some way that Tampa Bay could find enough pitching to make that 4-run lead hold up. Of course, they were leading 7-0.
And that is popped up. He can't get there. There's a throw. Not in time anyway. So a hustle double.
A high fastball, and Giovatella doesn't take anything for granted. No chance at all for Danks. Giovatella, when he sees it gets by him, hustles into second.
So here's Salvador Perez, 2 for 2. Singled in the first. Takes the strike. And of course, he had a long home run in the fourth. That was a 2-run shot. That is popped up right side. Gillespie. 2 down.
It's made it 2-0 at the time, and no doubter. 13th home run of the year for Perez.
So here's Butler. 0 for 2 today. Breaking ball, top foul. One and one to count with Lorenzo Cain on deck.
Normally this is a situation, if this were a very meaningful game, where you wouldn't give Butler anything too good to hit. Now with first base open and Cain coming up.
One and two. No, sir. This was an important one. You just put up 4 fingers. Send him on down to first. 2 pitch. There he goes. And he gone. Get him on a breaking ball, and that'll retire the side. Go to the bottom of the 6th, trailing by 1. Two 4-1 for them, 1-4-0 for us, as Josh Fegley, Alejandro Diaza, and Alexi Ramirez, the first 3 to face Cy Chen. Chen coming in at 8-4 with a 3.31. Throws first pitch strike. Chen in his career 79 up, 76 down. Turns it over vis-a-vis a screwball. And the count 0-2. He is fun to watch pitch. Another one. And Perez just can't get there.
Bruce has been around with just about seemingly every team in the league at this point. He started his career back in 1994, and he's still going and still able at this point to be 4 games over 500, which is pretty good. This year 8-4, off to a late start because he was in the bullpen, which isn't to his advantage. Came up originally with the Atlanta Braves in 1998.
And there's a little off the end of the bat. Looper. Out number 1. Here's Diaza. Alejandro has singled to left, and he has gone out deep to left, taking David Lowe back on the track. And it turned into a double play as Marcus Semien was on first. He did not know if Lowe was going to make the catch. Lowe made a good catch, but he had gone down tag second, and then when he came back to first, he forgot to retag. There's another little looper out into left field. Quickly 2 out. And here's Alexi.
Ramirez home run, the only score of the ball game so far for our boys, is the 4th drive of the game. His 6th home run of the year.
And Perez trying to get there, he just can't make it. So 22,633 for the final game of the season. So the final total, 1,768,413.
We certainly thank all of you. There's one of those years where weather wasn't great. Games were long. Red line was not in action. And quite obviously, the baseball was not quite as good as we expected it to be.
No, sir, I'm proud for each and every one of them. And there is ball 4. That's the first walk of the game issued by Cy Chin. And that'll bring up Gillespie, who's been in the plate one time and struck out. No, with all the elements that went into the 2013 season, it started off bad and then got worse.
Unfortunately, yes.
Well, it did. I mean, the weather was just horrible. Injuries started very early. At one point when we swept the Marlins, we were 500 at 24-24, and after that it was just straight downhill. One strike to Gillespie. Alexei has 30 stolen bases this year to go along with 39 doubles, 6 homers, 48 RBIs, 2 triples. And that's popped up. We are into the 7th, trailing 2-1. 0-1 the count to Lorenzo Cain, leading off here in the top of the 7th inning. He has struck out and grounded to second. 2 runs on 4 hits, 1 error for the Royals, and 1 run on 4 hits, no errors for our Sox. And quickly 0-2 the count. Cleveland now leading Minnesota 3-0. Top of the 6th at Target Field. All they got to do is win a game. Toronto trying to get back there. They're trailing 7-0. It is now 7-4 Tampa Bay. Bottom of the 7th up in Canada. Bottom of the 2nd Texas. Angels leading 1-0.
The Rangers have done just about everything they've had to do to get to this point. And Toronto starting to make it very tough on Tampa Bay. So they're trying to make the long comeback.
Well, they got ducks on the pond, 1 out. Bottom of the 7th.
And what was a 7-run lead has been reduced to a 3-run lead.
That ball hit hard, but hooked foul.
Who's your American League Cy Young Award winner?
Well, it's tough. It really is tough. I think with everything that's going on this year, Scherzer's going to edge out.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you go 21-3. Your team wins the division. I mean, there's certainly some good candidates there, but it looks to me like Max is going to take it. His own teammate Anibal Sanchez has a much better ERA.
Yeah. Well, Sanchez has been the most under the radar pitcher this year in the American League.
And you don't hear much about Bartolo Colon.
Well, as I'm saying, Bartolo, 18 wins.
Yeah.
And but his club is going to the playoffs. His club is a good club. So it's not that if he had 18 wins with a lesser record for a team, that's one thing. But Oakland's won 95 ball games.
And they've got a good team.
One and two.
You never know what would have happened if Matt Moore had stayed healthy all year, because if Tampa Bay wins that game today, I think Moore will have 17 wins. He could have been well into the 20s if he were to continue as he was when the season started.
Full count. Had him 0-2. Breaking ball misses.
Well, in the mascot race, Ron Kittle has not won all year long. He was probably destined not to win this one. But in the greatest tradition of professional wrestling, he knocks down Carlton Fisk. Southpaw helps him out. And for the first time this year, the Ron Kittle mascot wins the race.
Oh, Kitty. As that is hooked into the seats by Brett Hayes, who was lined to center and bounced back. Hit a comebacker to Quintana. Kitty, 1983 Rookie of the Year, 35 homers, 100 knocked in. Big man from Gary. One of the strongest guys to ever play this game. And that ball hit deep. It is a 4-1 Kansas City lead. Both homers coming after a walk.
This is the second time that Hayes hit the daylights out of one. This is a breaking ball that's down and out over the plate. And gone.
And that's back up the middle into center field by Sirianko.
Well, the oddity of last night's game was that every run, all 11 in a 6-5 Sox win, on both sides, courtesy of the home run. And today, same thing. 2 2-run homers and a solo shot for Ramirez. And every run courtesy of the home run today.
Irving Fallu takes first pitch strike. He is grounded to third and popped to first. Well, Tampa Bay gets out of the inning, but no further damage. It is 7-4 Rays over the Blue Jays after 7. And that's trouble. Look at the play by Beckham. Yes! Beautiful play by Beckham.
That ball was ticketed for right field. And Gordon closes a lot of ground. Makes just a spectacular effort and gets it there a half step in front of Fallu.
Didn't think he had a chance to get that ball from where he was. Meanwhile, it is what it is, and here is David Lowe. David 0 for 3. Game 1, they won it 3-2. Lowe had a 2-run homer in that game in the 4th inning. One to count. Two out. 2-1 pitch. Oh, you got a cookie right there. Fouls it back. 4-6-1 for them. 1-4-0 for us here in the finale of the series and the finale of the season.
He got a fastball that was right up in his eyes, right over the middle of the plate. Couldn't do anything with it.
Full count.
Jake Petrichka loosening in the pen.
Payoff pitch. And that is foul. Cleveland leading Minnesota 4-0. Bottom of the 6th. Ubaldo Jimenez on the bump.
I think were things different, they might have saved Ubaldo, who's been their best pitcher for quite some time. But they know if they win, they're assured of getting into the playoffs. So they send him out there today, and so far it's worked pretty well.
Got another good pitch to hit. That was pitch number 101 for Quintana, who has just been terrific this season, making his 33rd start.
And far and away the most innings he's ever pitched. He will benefit from that next year.
Well, if you're talking about start, he's been one of the most consistent pitchers in the American League.
All things considered, it's been a terrific year for him.
He gone, but the 2-run homer by Brett Hayes. 7th inning stretch. They lead it 4-1. And before we go to break, our Sox and Gina Glockson will honor our nation with "God Bless America."
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, our home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Baseball.
That's the story here as you check out our WGN Sports Tale of the Tape. Sai Chen once again spinning his magic against our hitters. The home run by Alexei Ramirez. We only have 4 hits. 1 by Diaza, 2 by Ramirez, and 1 by Beckham. Also, if you're just tuning in, Paul Konerko started the game, and then he was taken out to a tremendous ovation. And what could possibly be the last game he will ever play in a White Sox uniform?
Could you possibly get any read one way or the other, or was he playing it so close to the vest that you couldn't tell?
Well, when Paulie does not want you to know something, you won't know something.
It's true. He was.
He's very adept at, as you are, dancing.
Well, you know, I can understand where he would want to go home and take some time.
Certainly.
And
Certainly.
figure things out. Like, it's been a terrific career. It's been a long career.
And it's been a long year.
Yeah. Well, it's been a terrible year
with that injury, and he certainly does not want to go out like this as far as the team and, you know, the back problems he's had, the wrist problems he's had.
He's going to have to measure how healthy he thinks he can be with the kind of performance he thinks he can give and live up to his own standards, which are pretty high.
So, 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. It'll bring up Danks, who's 0 for 2. Bruce Chen has been very, very tough on young hitters the last few years. Let me rephrase that. He's been very, very tough on young White Sox hitters.
Well, he's not going to give you anything to hit. I mean, if you're swinging at pitches out of the zone and you're facing him, you're going to need every pitch out of the zone.
Oh, and 2 the count.
Not that he's the greatest pitcher around, but he's a smart pitcher, or else he wouldn't be around this long.
Well, he's one of the smartest around.
Yeah. And there's no reason to throw a guy who's aggressive anything in the zone.
That has popped up left side. Falu. So 2 down. And you can schedule Southpaw for your birthday party, for your wedding, for your holiday party, for your festival, or block party. So to have Southpaw visit your next event, call 312-674-1000 or visit whitesox.com/Southpaw. And you will not be disappointed. Tank popped to second and struck out. There is ball 4. So that's the second walk issued by Chen. And here's Beckham. Gordon is singled sharply and going out deep to center field.
Perhaps getting that glove ready for winter ball. Hayes goes out there to have a word with Bruce Chen as the bullpen continues to work for the Royals. It's hard throwing Kelvin Herrera.
They got the hardest throwing little guys I've ever seen coming out of a bullpen.
They got a few guys below 6 feet tall that get it up there in the high 90s.
Well, you got Holland, and Herrera can hit triple digits.
Pretty amazing. Great arms.
When Greg Holland's getting his splitter over, he's as good as any reliever in baseball.
Well, this year was just an absolutely remarkable year for him. ERA of 1.23, 46 saves.
And how about this? Back-to-back walks.
Well, that's going to be it for Chen, who apparently has run out of gas because he had things his own way. Last inning and 2/3, he's walked 3 men, so I think Ned Yost has probably seen enough. He does indeed want Herrera out of the pen, so Bruce Chen does another good job, leaves with the lead, and we'll step out and be back after these messages. On for the 59th time. Opponent's hitting just .220. 74 strikeouts, 21 walks. He is a hard-throwing right-hander. He has had one problem, though, and that is giving up the long ball. He's given up 9 home runs in 58 innings. So that's pretty high total for a guy who throws as hard as he does. He inherits a couple of men on, a couple of men out.
And Marcus Semien strolling up there to that dish.
And last night he got a first ball fastball. That was from Yordano Ventura, who at the time was throwing 98, 99 miles an hour, and Marcus turned it around.
Oh, 1-1 to count. Bottom of the 4th in Texas, still 1-0 Angels. That one is 99. Come on, Marcus. One swing of the bat, we can get this thing tied up. Make it a nice getaway day. Attaboy. 3-1.
Well, you got Josh Fegley in the on-deck circle.
Riaco. And that'll retire the side. We're into the 8th. We trail it 4-1.
Four to 1. They've out hit our Sox 6-4. They've made the only error of the game. Bruce Chen went 6 2/3 and threw the ball very well. Salvador Perez had a 2-run homer in the 4th. Your Chicagoland Northwest Indiana Honda dealers, as reliable as the cars themselves. And Jake Petrichka comes into the ball game. It's one of the good arms to come out of the system. ERA 3.44. He's on for the 16th time.
So here's Givotella. 2 for 2 with a walk and a run scored. Takes first pitch strike. And since this is our last game of the season and our last game obviously over WGN, I want to thank everybody. Steve and I are very fortunate to have worked with some terrific people. All the great guys at Trio Video. Super crew. I want to thank our producer for WGN Games, John Waldron, for the mayor, Mean Joe Group. And I especially want to thank our Hall of Fame director, who I love like a little brother, Jim Angio. When they opened up that wing in Cooperstown for our television guys, Harry Coyle of that ilk, Jim Angio will be right there.
And the next time we run into Jim, he will be a married man, so we want to congratulate him on that.
Yep. Bob Vorwall, executive producer for WGN Sports. Always there for you. And as I touched on it last time, I'm going to touch it. That was for a local audience. Then WGN, of course, goes all around the world. And I want to tell you that I just want to thank Steve Stone, my partner. This is our 5th year together. And it certainly has been the toughest season that we have ever experienced. There's no question about that. And to me, Steve, you've had your best year this year, buddy. You have done a terrific job. It's easier. It's a heck of a lot easier for a play-by-play guy because of what we have to do. But to be an analyst and to lose, in this case, possibly 99 games, and to keep it interesting and keep our fans informed and everything else, I salute you, and you've just done a terrific job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And that's what this whole situation is. It's a partnership. And I feel like we just got better as the year went along. It became more difficult. But I think as a team, you and I got better as the year went along. And I have to believe next year it's going to be a whole lot easier because I believe the team's going to be a lot better. And it will be this way. And it was this way when television started. It will be this way forever. When the team is good, the broadcasters sound that much better.
No question.
So if they have a great year next year, you and I are going to be terrific.
You know, well, we're going to have some fun because we're going to have that young group out there with a lot of energy, a lot of speed. And I have every confidence in Rick Hahn and his staff. They're going to get this thing turned around. You're talking about Murphy's Law. This was Murphy's Law this year.
Well, we saw it just here today in a couple of instances. Things that could go wrong did. But in many instances, I think that our front office is going to have as tough a year as they've ever had over the winter time in making some very difficult decisions, figuring out who is part of their future, who should be part of their past, where to spend the money, whatever money is allocated to them, how to deal with free agents, which of your own guys do you sign and bring back. There's so many, at this point, there's so many question marks and so many unanswered questions and things that we can't even consider right now that I think it's going to be a tough one for the boys.
Rick's got a lot of good help, too, with Buddy Bell and, of course, his staff. And Kenny Williams there's a base hit by Perez. He has just swung the bat extremely well today. That's his third hit. He also had that long 2-run homer. Yeah, but it's going to be a tough, and it's going to have to be. There's going to have to be, I mean, some real tough decisions made.
I think so, and that's what happens when you have a kind of year as the Sox had this year. You have some building blocks. I mean, they're here. We can see them here. We know that, for one thing, Gordon Beckham staying healthy all year will be a key. If he does that, I think he's going to have a much better offensive year. And I think a much better defensive year.
Well, it's going to be, I think, a fun year with the youngster, the youth. As I said, because that equates to energy. And we didn't have a whole bunch of energy this year.
No. If you don't have a real fast team and you're not getting on base and you're all down toward the bottom in on base percentage, it's very difficult to appear to be an electric team or a team with energy. If you get 4 or 5 hits a game or you strike out 10, 11 times a game, tough to be too energetic.
Pull the string on him. So the count 1-2 to Billy Butler.
So what year is this for you overall, and what year is this for you with the White Sox?
This is my 29th year with the White Sox. And 54th all in professional baseball.
Biggest changes you've seen in the 54 years?
Bullpen. That's the biggest.
Just the emergence of the bullpen as.
Yeah, it's a battle. It's people say the game hadn't changed. They're full of it. This game has changed a ton. There's a comeback in there. He's going to go right at him. That's going to give everybody, as he tags him.
Looks like Giavatello might have thrown an elbow right into the face of Fegley. We are going to have to
see
learn.
it. I was watching the runner.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to learn how to use rundowns a little bit better. Yeah, he gave him a good shove.
Well, he didn't hurt him, I'll tell you that. Josh is a tough kid. But when they say that the game has not changed, they're completely wrong. The game has changed. Doesn't make any difference how good your starters are. It doesn't make any difference how good your offense is. It doesn't make any difference how good anything is except the bullpen. Because there are no complete games today. The bullpen is going to cover probably of each team's game a minimum of 152 games.
Do you see a reversal? Because it was at the point where we were with four-man rotation and guys, if not going the distance, they certainly went into the eighth inning just about each and every time out. Do you see it ever reverting back to that?
Yes, I do. Not in my lifetime, probably, but because I'm 72 now. I'll tell you what I see, though. Before that, I see a six-man rotation.
You think a team's going to go to six even though they have trouble finding five?
Yeah, I sure do.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a six-man rotation before it'll be back to a four-man. But somebody, we were going to do that in '86 as that's out number 2. When Don Drysdale and I were here. But you got to start at the minor league level. You got to start when you get them out of high school. You got to start when you get them out of college, because you got to remember, as you well know, but people don't understand, you got high school pitchers throwing more pitches per week than major league pitchers.
Yep.
You got college pitchers throwing more pitches than major league pitchers. So they're used to throwing 300 pitches a week. And when you get them out, coming out, you go them right into a four-man rotation, and then you got to control some of the agents. Agents today, the bullpen and the agents are the two biggest changes in the last 54 years in this game. Agents, in essence, control a lot of baseball today. Steve and I have touched on this quite a bit, so you can get an understanding of, you take the Kansas City Royals with the good pitching staff they have. This year, they have 5 complete games.
Yeah, and that'll be the norm as opposed to the exception. There'll be a lot of teams who won't even have 5 complete games.
Yes, and the White Sox have 5 complete games. So that means their bullpen has got to cover 157 games this year. Our bullpen has got to cover 157 games. He gone. We go to the bottom of the 8th. It is a 4-1 Kansas City lead.
Is provided by 97.5 FM ESPN Deportes, Chicago's first and only FM Spanish language sports radio station. And the new pitcher is hard-throwing right-hander Luke Hochevar, who found a new life out of the bullpen. 5-2, 195 ERA, on for the 58th time. Last year, a disastrous year as a starter. This year, a spectacular year as a full-time reliever.
Josh fouls it away. Getting back to the changes that we were just discussing, I think the reason they're going to go to a 6-man rotation before somebody has the stones to go back to a 4-man is because of the managers. Managers today are entirely different than they were 25 or 30 years ago, or even 50 years ago for sure. These guys, a lot of these managers couldn't manage unless they can go hitter to hitter to hitter. So you have to find some way. It's like we talked about earlier. It's like Prince Fielder protecting Miguel Cabrera. It's like Kansas City's got to get somebody to protect Billy Butler. If they don't, they're not going to win. And you have to have somebody to protect your bullpen. And I think that's why they're going to go to a 6-man rotation, to make it easier on the bullpen.
If you go to 6, then you're going to have one less guy in your pen, most likely. I don't think they want to go to 13-man staff. So those guys are going to have to, the 6 men are going to be stronger, quite obviously. And they're going to have to go a little deeper in the game. And
I think there's going to be an addition to the roster of one guy. I think they're going to make it a 26-man active. As Josh goes down, I think they're going to have to, for the injuries and for the game, the way it's changed.
Now, one of the things that you and I have talked about, and we haven't talked about this on the air, but one of the ways to protect pitchers' arms would be to raise that mound.
No question.
Now, you think it's that difficult to raise it a couple of inches? I would say 3 inches, but maybe they could make it 12 inches high, which would help everybody's curveball and bring the curveball back and not make it into such a sinker-slider league. I think we're seeing more curveballs now than ever before, but you'd see a lot more if you had a little more height on the mound.
Stoney, in my opinion, if you raise the mound 6 inches, okay, you would vastly increase the amount of complete games. Anytime you're throwing downhill.
I don't know if they'll buy 16 inches, but
I said 6.
No, I said, I mean, if you move it up to 16, I'm not sure that they'll buy that, but I think any distance you raise them out, regardless of what it is, I think you're going to vastly help the pitchers, and I think you'll help them stay healthy.
I do too.
Yeah.
Injuries are the big factor. I think that's the reason they're going to go to a 26-man roster. And again, all that is just insurance against protecting your starters, because you get another man in the bullpen.
And I think eventually, especially with some of these contracts given long-term deals to pitchers, you realize that if you can protect them a little bit more, it protects your investment. That's what it comes down to, protecting your investment. There's a good look.
I love those guys. That's right. Your man Joe said every opening day we see them, and every last game of the season here we see them. They're awesome. Yes, that is out number 2.
Hochevar, now that he's in the pen, he has added some explosiveness to that fastball.
So here's Alexei. Alexei singled, homered, and walked. Got his average up to 285 to go along with 6 homers, 48 RBIs. And that's popped up right side. Givitella is there, makes the catch, and that didn't take long, and we're into the 9th. You can check out the Comcast Fundamentals deck here at USA Field. You can interact with White Sox trainers on the bases at the Wiffle Ball Diamond and test your swing at the batting cages. You can catch all the action with Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. So call 1-800-XFINITY to learn more. As we're in our last inning, possibly here for 2013, and Steve and I were just talking about Tony La Russa. Tony was the innovative manager, and Tony might possibly be the greatest manager who ever lived. And if you don't believe it, just check out his record. Can't go back to the Connie Mack and McGraw guy because they were, you know, different game. But Tony was the guy who first went to the setup guy. And then later on, he went to the seventh inning guy. And he saw what was coming. And Tony La Russa changed the face of baseball.
Well, he was certainly one of those guys that could mix and match. When you gave him September and you gave him some extra pitchers, not that he couldn't do it before, because obviously he could do it before, but when he moved into the National League and then he got the mix and match and got the matchups, I think the only guy that did it as well, Whitey Herzog did it unbelievably well when he was with St. Louis, understanding how to protect guys in your pen, not letting them face guys that wasn't a good matchup for him. And Tony did it exceptionally well.
Well, and Whitey was, in my opinion, probably as good a talent evaluator as this game's ever seen. And Whitey was one of the great managers too. But Tony, to me, is possibly the best manager we have ever seen. Baseball. As I said, his thought process on pitching is what we see today. Seventh inning guy, eighth inning guy, and your closer. But you phrased it right in the break right there. Is that the bullpen was an afterthought.
Failed starters.
Yep.
Failed closers.
That's who I hit against.
They all went into the bullpen, and they didn't want to be there because they knew that they were there by default. So it was hard, especially middle guys. Very difficult to get a guy to excel in a role that he doesn't accept. And all of those guys out there wanted to be something else, so they couldn't excel in that role.
Well, when I played, every time you faced a guy, for the most part, coming out of the bullpen, you were facing a guy who was struggling like the devil. As there is base hit. Almost Fallu picks up his first hit of the night, and of the year, I should say. But every time I faced a guy, he was in trouble. And as you said, he came out of there. He didn't want to be there in the first place. These guys today come out of there with fire and brimstone and adrenaline coming out.
Because you have to earn those spots today. But one of the great lines that you always heard in baseball, in the area that you and I played in when you were struggling as a starter, go and work it out of the bullpen. We think you can work it out of the bullpen. Well, then you're there and you do everything you can to get out and get back a starting job. Now these guys making a great deal of money, especially on the more successful teams, as you go to you consciously build a bullpen. And we've seen them pay setup men $10-12 million a year.
Yeah.
That's astonishing. Soriano made that kind of money as a setup man for the Yankees.
Yeah. And it paid off for him.
It did indeed. Greg Holland loosening up. And assuming that they don't get another run, he'll be trying to nail down save number 47.
And certainly our congratulations go out to our Addison Reed, who was last night picked up his 40th save. As that's going to be a base hit. So David Lowe picks up his first hit of the game. But Addison picking up 40 saves plus 5 wins. So he's picked up 45
out of the 63.
Of the 63 wins that we have this year.
That's pretty good.
That's where the bullpen is today. Johnny Giovatello, 2 for 2 with 2 walks. 0-2 the count. Yeah, with these shadows like this and Greg Holland getting ready to come in if they don't score again, our guys, Gillespie, Garcia, and Dank's going to be seeing some fire.
They might have some trouble. Not that he doesn't give you a whole lot of trouble anyway when the visibility's good. Well, Tampa Bay held on by the skin of their teeth to win a 7-6 game over Toronto. They were leading 7-0.
Yeah. Matt Moore picked up save number 17. 17-4. Boy, that young man, he is fun to watch. Texas is up 2-1, so there could be a playoff.
And Cleveland up 5-1. That game in the top of the 8th, so could very well be Cleveland. At the end of the day, has one of the great stretch runs and wins the #1 wild card berth. Watches then Tampa Bay and Texas play off one game to see who goes to Cleveland for the one that puts you out of the one and done category.
Yeah, Cleveland was trying to win their 10th in a row. And that's up high, so a full count. Yeah, you win 10 in a row to get in postseason play, you deserve it.
And I don't care what your schedule looks like. Everybody's saying, well, Cleveland's got soft schedule, soft schedule. Well, Toronto's not the best team in the world, and they beat Tampa Bay twice and almost beat them a third time in a 4-game series. So soft schedule or not, when you're going on the road to win some games that you have to win, it's tough.
And that pitch is popped up. The eyes are coming on. He's there, makes the catch. And that'll retire the side. So they threaten, can't score. We'll go to the bottom of the 9th. Trailing 4-1.
One of the best closers in all of baseball this particular season, the first year that he's been a closer all year, and that's Greg Holland. Looking for his 47th save, and this is his 50th opportunity. He's 2-1 with an ERA of 1.23. On for the 68th time.
First pitch strike. Connor's 0 for 2. Garcia on deck. Danks in the hole. 4-9-1 for the Royals, 1-4-0 for us. That ball hit into right field. They got a man there. That's a hang woofle.
Well, the last message that I have for you in this season, and reflecting back and looking ahead to next year, more importantly, because reflecting back, that's for the winter time. Looking ahead, there are 3 games that I would like to do, and whether I do play-by-play or color, I don't particularly care. I just don't want to do them with you, because I would love to see you in Cooperstown accepting the Ford Frick on the weekend of this coming season. So it would give me 3 days without you, which would be okay. But you would also get something that you deserve lo these many years, and hopefully that comes to pass.
Well, I appreciate the words, the sentiments, Steve. But you know, I can tell you this right now, that Steve Stone will be in the Hall of Fame.
You know, I better grab a glove and get my arm loose, because I don't think I could be here long enough.
You will be there. You're one of the best in the business, buddy, and everybody knows it. There you go, base hit.
I'm not sure how you do that with the visibility like
I'm not
it is,
either.
But, well, Garcia's going to be some player. There's no doubt about it. I think he's going to thrill a whole lot of our fans next year. And he's good now. He's going to be real good.
Well, you know, I've talked and said a lot about Gordon Beckham once Paulie leaves becoming, you know, the face of the franchise, the leader of the ball club, which he could still do. But Avisaíl Garcia is going to make him work for it. Garcia has got a chance to be, as we talked about, Rick Hahn may have just pulled off maybe the greatest trade in the history of this franchise.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think it's going to look better and better. And one of the things that I saw from the beginning when he got here was when someone else did something well, came into the dugout, one of the first guys that greeted him was Avisaíl. And he would either put his arms around him or give him a big smile or pat him on the back or do whatever. And that's something you don't see from a lot of young players, because they don't know exactly where their place is on the ball club or what to do. I think he does it out of genuine enthusiasm, and he's happy for his teammates to do something good. That's really something you can't teach. I think that's innate to him.
He brings the energy.
Yeah.
You very seldom see a guy that big with that kind of energy. Yeah, but he's going to be something. Our fans are going to love watching this club play, I think, next year with that youth, speed, and energy. I know one thing. That guy right there will be.
Well, Robin picked up a few gray hairs this year.
He did.
There's no.
Literally.
I went into his office. I looked at him. I said, you know, I'm not sure you can get the equal amount next year. I'd like to make sure that you didn't do that. I know how tough this year was. But Robin wants to come back. Rick has already said he wants him back. And I think it has got to get a whole lot easier to manage next year's team.
Well, right here is the tying run at the plate with one out. And here's Tank. Tank has popped a second, struck out, and walked.
Holland has given up 3 home runs this year in 67 previous appearances. So it hasn't been done often, but it can be done.
And there's a broken bat base hit. So they're going to hold. Now that'll bring up the winning run to the plate.
A breaking ball that stayed up in the zone. And it loads him up.
Gordon has singled hard, gone out deep to center, taking Lorenzo Cain back on the track, and he's walked. Takes first pitch strike. That one at 98. And the count 0-2. Well, when he gets that one over that fastball, what's it at? 6 inches?
Yeah, you can freeze him on the hook. I'm not sure about the visibility of seeing the spin of the ball right now, but that one buckled the legs of Gordon.
And that's fouled back underneath Steve.
Did a nice job of staying alive there because that was a pretty good pitch, low and away.
That one at 99 miles an hour in bad visibility.
Yeah, Holland reached back, got a little something extra on that one. He set him up with 2 breaking balls and then fired a fastball right by him.
Yeah, the breaking ball just had 6 or 8 inches on his fastball. So here is Marcus. Marcus 0 for 3. Reached on an error, went out deep to left, and hit into a fielder's choice. Takes a breaking ball strike. One and two. And this ball game and this season is over. So the Royals win it 4-1, and we'll be back.